in this episode.
I'm Ted at Rotation FPL, and today we're talking all things Chelsea.
The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello listeners and welcome to episode 29 of the Planet FPL 30 in 30. My name's Serge.
My name is James.
29 out of 30.
Nearly there.
I feel the same as I did probably about a mile out from the finish line of the marathon. Like absolutely battered.
Really?
Recording. Yeah.
What's been harder, this or the marathon?
Oh, the marathon. But I didn't think that recording 30 podcasts in 30 days would be this intense.
You probably finished this better than you finished the marathon.
I still look good.
I'm just saying.
Today we have with us our Chelsea correspondent, new for 1920, Ted at Rotation FPL. Ted, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
No problem
Pleasure,
at all.
mate.
Talk about timing, James. Tell us.
Yeah, so we're recording this 12:30 p.m. UK time, lunchtime.
Approx.
The news broke 20 minutes ago that Derby County have given Chelsea permission to speak to Frank Lampard. Timing, there's a reason why we held this guy back to the end, I think.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. But then obviously we talked about it yesterday where you pulled up the odds that he was 1 to 12 on anyway. So
Yeah.
This looked like a shoe-in for a while. Let's start there. Ted, how do you feel? Would you be happy if Frank takes over the reins?
Yeah, I think definitely so. I mean, I grew up watching him, and he's an absolute dream signing for me in terms of the idea of having Frank Lampard as our manager. Obviously, it is a huge risk, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's come in with 1 year experience. But if you look at the other options, is there anyone better, really?
Well, Rafa, I would say, is a much better option.
Told you don't mention Rafa with them.
I had a chat with a Chelsea fan. I had a kid's sports day this morning. I went to my kid's school and we're standing outside with parents, and one of them, Nico, he's a season ticket holder at Chelsea, and I said, what do you think about Rafa? And he said, to be honest, people warm to him a little bit more over time, but I don't know if that one-man sample is a fair reflection of all Chelsea fans, but he's one option. Has Allegri got a job yet, or is he still out in the ether? He's a better option than Frank.
He said he's going to take a year off.
Okay, so then he's
pretty
not.
much removed himself. I mean, with Benitez, he's made some comments in the past that Chelsea fans haven't appreciated. But he did have a good stint with us. I mean, he won Europa League with us, so can't complain there.
Yep.
But I'm just not keen on that style of football. You know, we've got a great chance here of some really exciting players. I want to play some exciting football, and I think Frank can offer that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. It's just the risk element of it. When things are going well and you've got a young manager, it's all well and good. It's when the shit hits the fan that they're really under pressure that you kind of that experience tells. And I don't know if Frank's got it, but time will tell.
Ted, how old are you, can I ask?
I'm 19.
Nice. And there's a reason why I wanted to ask that question. How was your exams? Good?
Yeah, mate. They were fine.
Good. The real reason, not to sort of come off your exams, but I wanted to ask, do you know who the last English manager was to manage Chelsea?
No.
It's not in your lifetime, mate.
Wow.
No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure it was Glenn Hoddle.
That's who I would have guessed, but yeah, that's a bit before me.
Ray Wilkins was never manager, was he? He was only ever assistant manager.
No, might have caretaked a couple of games.
In between.
Glenn Hoddle took the England job after Euro 96.
Wow.
Every manager Chelsea have had since has been foreign. And I don't think any of them have lasted more than 9 months, have they? They've all won trophies.
Well,
none of them have lasted long.
Jose's lasted a little longer, but that's about it. Ancelotti had a good stint. So interesting. Look, we'll get into Chelsea because there's a very interesting. Chelsea are going to be very interesting in FPL next season. But before we do, tell us about your FPL history. How was last season?
Well, last season was a fun one, should we say? I finished up at 633rd in the end. I had a really nice game at 38, which ties it all together. That was my first season, top 10k.
633.
Yeah, it's not bad.
There's no K or 1,000 on the end of that. It's just 633.
No. Yeah, I've got
Bastard
that number
guy,
well memorised.
Suj
Yeah,
wants
that
to
was
kill
my-
me for all these correspondent ranks, and you've
We just
obviously
keep getting them in the
got the highest of the lot.
Every other, like when we had Foxy, for example, he's like, I'm 4,900. I'm like, you would have won the Correspondence League. And then another guy, Hopcroft, was like 3,700. You would have won the Correspondence League. And last but not least, we have Ted here with 633, who definitely would have been the highest placed correspondent last season. Was that your best ever rank? Please say
Yes, by a fair way.
Okay,
yeah.
fine, good.
I feel like
a little bit better here.
I want to open a book, the odds on the Correspondent League next season.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe.
Has that got any mileage?
I don't know about running a book on it necessarily. Yeah, maybe something along those lines. I think if we did it for charity, I wouldn't mind. I feel a bit odd gambling on the correspondence.
No. I'm all in for taking people's money. What price we make you? Same price as Leicester.
Yeah, I'll be 5,000 to 1 outside bet. Ted's odds on at the moment.
I
What
wouldn't
were
say
your
odds
previous
on.
ranks? Tell us your previous ranks.
So I've had a 30k and I think a 40k. I've done it for 11 seasons now. Obviously, I was pretty young when I started. So
Shit, what, 8?
yeah, I was 8. Yeah.
Shit, one of my kids turns 7 next week. This is aging me. This podcast is going to age me.
Yeah, the big
incredible.
thing is keeping attention span when you're young. That was a big problem for me.
Yeah, my son's football knowledge extends to the West Ham lineup plus Harry Kane. So it'd be a very interesting FPL team if we would literally be West Ham players, as many as he could fit in, plus Harry Kane. He knows a couple of others actually, Dele Alli, and then it moves on to Messi, Ronaldo, and international players really. So I don't think at 7
not
he's got
starting
the
anytime
knowledge.
soon.
Nah, he ain't gonna be.
You've not corrupted him, in fairness.
No, not
my
at
son.
all.
My son will start playing when he's about 4.
And the chips and all the rest of it all worked out well for you, obviously, with a rank of 633.
Yeah, that was a real saver for my season. So I was really starting to drop. Just after Christmas, it all went downhill. It was about 2k, and then it sort of went to 50k within 6 weeks.
Oh wow! So you dropped down to 50k. What kind
And
of?
then came back.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a bit of a roller coaster, that one.
Anything that you think particularly helped you last season get that rank? Was it that you were hitting your captains or getting your transfers right?
At the start of the year, there was a good bit of captaincy going on. I think quite a few people had that sort of run where there was just no blanks on your captains for like 18 odd weeks. That was lovely. But towards the end, I think a nice slice of luck. There's a good bit. But it was the chips you can really propel yourself up. I had a nice run. Just picking players, I had like triple Bournemouth and Jamie Vardy coming into the blanks, which worked really nicely for me. So it is a good bit of luck, but
How did you use the chips, Ted?
it was the standard plan that everyone went with. I was fairly set on that from the start. I can't remember the exact weeks. It was like a 34 wild cards.
So you built your team for the blanks in 31 and 33.
So you did the bench boost and the second double, basically.
Yeah, free hit in 32, wildcard 34, bench boost 35. And what about your triple captain? Did you leave that right to the end, or did you get in early on like Aguero's hat tricks? Or
I was delaying on that. I couldn't see a week. I was completely happy to play it. I stuck it on Mane in the end.
37,
36, 36. I think
Yeah,
it
it
was.
was
okay, 36. Sorry, yeah.
Which 13 points up to 39. I was very happy with that. But my mini league rivals all went with Salah, and he obviously did even better. But what can you do? I was happy with that.
You get what you pay for in this game sometimes, didn't you?
True. I'm assuming you smashed those guys in the mini league anyway.
Some and some. I did have the Fantasy Football Scout Mods and Cons League, and that was right down to the wire on that one with Mark Sevens.
Yeah.
But the family mini leagues was a safe win in the end.
Nice.
Where did Mark finish?
He just slipped out the top 1k at the end.
Okay.
He had a rough 38. He took a big hit. He did fantastically well this season.
He gets so much grief, but he fucking knows his onions.
I mean, consistently year in, year out. I mean, I'm only in season 2 of my FPL life, really. So to think,
I think the listeners are waiting for your first season.
Nah. Last season was not too bad, 200 and whatever it was. But I'm not a serious player. This is fun. This is a game. Let's talk about Chelsea. Chelsea, blue is the colour. No transfers coming in, and Eden Hazard out the door. Just from a footballing perspective, what are you hoping for next season?
Well, to not go out of the top 6 would be the minimal requirements.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping to see some good progression of the youth players and some good football. I think it's important now. We had some rough games last season. I think the fans want to see some excitement now.
There's an opportunity of a sea change with Chelsea that a lot of us on the outside, myself included, screamed about in these last couple of years on the podcast about all these kids coming through and that they never get the chance at Chelsea. You see them, I mean, we played you in the Youth Cup final 2 years ago. They fucking battered us like 9-2 on aggregate or something. You're looking at these kids and going, a lot of these kids 2 years ago in that Youth Cup final were ready to be playing at a low standard of Premier League.
Yeah.
So it's like, are they going to break through? I've watched England under 21 games. Half the team's Chelsea again. So, but you could never see a path for them. And I think for a lot of these kids, particularly like Clark Salter and stuff, it's still going to be a difficult path for them. But there's an opportunity now with an English manager coming in, if we assume it is going to be Lampard, that some of these guys will get a look in. You would think it's going to benefit people like Hudson-Odoi and Loftus-Cheek, surely.
It would. Frank's got a hit to nothing now, really, hasn't he? With the lack of transfers coming in, it's almost like a free hit. And if anyone, that's the one positive with Frank, is that if anyone understands the club and what the club is about and bringing through the talent, you'd think it'd be Frank. And these young players will definitely look up to him, because in the same way that you've grown up watching Frank, they have too, right? So he is an idol and he's a legend at the club for sure.
Yeah, exactly. He's a big fan of these youth players, and he's talked about it regularly that he wants to give them a good chance.
He's tried to take as many to Derby, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Oh, he bought Ashley Cole there as well, so good little
the old ones too.
Yeah. But with Jody Morris as his assistant, he'll probably come back with him as well, I think, to Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all very focused on youth, so it could be a great chance. But not a lot of these players aren't quite at top 6 level, and that is what Abramovich wants us to play, right? It's going to be top 6. So I don't know how big of a change there'll be this year. I think we'll see a couple more, but I see a lot of people talking about they're expecting a sudden influx of 10 youth players suddenly in the starting 11. It's not going to happen. A lot of them are still not at the correct level, but it's looking very promising.
Can I look at this as a worst case scenario? Because I think that there's that line of thought that, right person for the right time if Chelsea are going to change their strategy. But also a worst case scenario a lot of people are thinking is, well, he's not ready as a manager. You kind of feel like that, Serge, don't you?
Yeah, I do feel like to go to one season and then jump to a top 6 club when you've got managers that have been around the game, like Eddie Howe for so long and earned their kind of stripes. It's a safer bet would be Eddie Howe than Frank Lampard, in my opinion.
Would it? But one benefit Lampard's got, he knows the club inside out.
Yeah,
right?
And that is
he
a
knows
positive.
how the owner wants to work, etc. Ted, can I ask? Say you had a worst case scenario. Say you start the season like Mourinho's last year. You're 10th in the league. You go out the Champions League group stage. Do you think he would be given the time to work with that? Because if it was anybody else, they'd be out the door, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Given our track record, I don't think he would last long in that scenario. I'm desperate for some stability at the club now. I was hoping we'd get it with Sarri. We didn't. We really badly need it. So I'm really hoping Lampard does do what he needs to do. But if we aren't hitting the levels that we need, then I'm sure changes will be made and quick.
Why do you think you need it? Because, again, looking at it from the outside, the model of the club is win something, get someone else, win something, get someone else. So the stability, looking again from the outside, the stability seems to be an acceptance. If Chelsea go down this route, I mean, do you think you can win the league next year as it stands right now?
No.
That's not where Abramovich wants to be,
sure,
right?
But you just said win something, move on, win something, you move on. It's not the 2 trophies that they really want, is it? Which is Premier League and Champions League. They're not in. When's the last time they won either one of those? You're talking 4 or 5 seasons ago.
I think the whole Juventus thing just gave Chelsea an excuse, because I think he was getting bummed out anyway, wasn't he?
I think there's a good chance, yeah. I think it wouldn't have gone down well, though, with the fans. So it was a sneaky little move, I think.
Yeah, I think it worked out well for Chelsea, because it's all right, fine, you can go back to Italy.
And you get some compo on the way.
If that's what you want to do. Conte was the same in terms of he wanted to go back to Italy. He wasn't going to be that bothered either way as well. What did you think of Sarri? Because most of the Chelsea fans I'd speak to weren't happy.
There was quite a split going on, especially on Twitter, between fans that loved him and fans that hated him. I was fairly happy with him. I could see what he was trying to work towards. It was just his first season. And you can't complain about what he achieved, right? Third in the League Cup final, Europa League win. I can't complain with that.
That's a good season.
It was an excellent season, really. And we showed signs of what we could be as well over that. It was just those couple of games where either Chelsea were looking dead and tired and just performance wasn't there. Or that game against City, for example, which was just horrific to watch. That first half was heartbreaking. And that sort of, I think, sealed his fate. But I think if his interactions with the players and the media, I think, didn't help him. And it wasn't him being stubborn. Well, it was him being stubborn, but it's just his style. And I think a lot of fans didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, I think writing was on the wall probably before the City game. And you're talking about the 6-0, obviously, the league game. I think the Bournemouth away game, Leicester at home before that as well. It had gone from a period, you came to us in November, and it seems hard to think about now, but I think you might have even been joint top, maybe you were unbeaten. And I remember you lost to us and instantly you were third, and it was like you were out the race straight away, or just off the back of one defeat. And then it kind of spiraled where the consistency you were maintaining with City and Liverpool was gone. And there were a lot of negative performance. I'm thinking I know Gunn had a good game on the day, but it's like 0-0 at Southampton and stuff. You're pushing for a title, you can't really be having results like that. I feel like the writing was on the wall because of that split. I think there were a lot of fans just weren't going to be won over by him based on this huge ball retention strategy, which once you're ahead is great, but there were games where if you went behind, you'd be looking at a game, Chelsea ain't going to score.
When you came to London Stadium, the biggest thing, you really struggled to break us down. That was the thing. It was we were defending deep, but then Willian and Hazard, when they're not on it and they can't break you down, that was the real struggle. It was like, where's the creativity going to come from? Because Hazard didn't have a good game that day. Obviously, he scored that wonder goal in the reverse fixture, but that was the struggle that you had with Sarri. Like, if he's not there to break down the opposition defence, then it ended up being that quite a few teams did win. But we shall see next season.
Talk to me briefly, Ted, about where you're at with the transfer market. So just to clarify for the listeners, because I'm a little unsure on this, you can buy Kovacic and Higuain if you want. Is that right?
So Kovacic, we have until the end of the month to sign him. So when this goes up, we'll probably know if he's going to join us or not. But it is a part of our, I think, loan deal agreement. I don't think it's an option to sign with Kovacic. I think that's only with Higuain. But I think you can sort of get around the player registration process or something if they're already a loan. I'm not sure, but we are definitely able to grab him as long as it's done before the end of the month.
And Higuain?
There's an option to buy there. Option to extend the loan, I think, is like 18 million, or it's like 30 something if we decide to buy him. I don't expect us to buy him, though. No,
I mean, because if you look at even the front line as it would stand now, is Morata gone, or is he still your player?
He's on an 18-month loan, so he's got another year.
So he definitely
he'll
won't
go
be with
after
you. Yeah, fine. But obviously you got Batshuayi and Abraham back in on the books now with Giroud. Where do you see the three of them next season as it would stand?
That's a hard one to call. I think Giroud's just signed his new contract. I don't think he would have done that unless he'd been promised a good chance to compete for that starting spot. So he definitely wants more game time. Obviously, after that, Sarri went and it all went a bit crazy. I think Tammy Abraham has got a good chance of being suited with Lampard. Lampard likes his forward to move about, draw defenders. And Giroud isn't really suited to that role. Higuain definitely doesn't. Higuain doesn't move. So,
I think it'd be a different conversation if Hazard was still there, because Hazard and Giroud had some kind of link up. But without Hazard there, then maybe Giroud's less of an asset.
I'm not sure on Abraham. I don't dislike him whenever I watch him. I just don't know if he's suitable to be Chelsea's main striker.
I fully agree. Fully agree. He's got that look. He talks about it with Tomo, the Blades correspondent. But he's got that look of a sort of striker where possibly they're too good for the Championship, but not quite good enough for the Premier League. They've got sort of a bit of that feel with him. Whether he could be a top 6 striker, I don't know. But between him and Michy Batshuayi, I think he's more likely to be that top 6 striker. So we'll have to wait and see. He looked great in an under-21 game with England.
The thing is, Abraham particularly, although he obviously had a great season with Villa, I don't think he can come in at too high a price.
No, I think being Chelsea, you'll have a bit of a premium on him.
He couldn't be more. He couldn't be more than say 7 at the very most. Surely
that's bonkers. 5.5. Tammy Abraham.
But if he's going to be Chelsea's main forward, doesn't that instantly gives you a premium?
Currently, Giroud's already having
people are talking about
7.
People are talking about Rashford having like 1.5, 2 million rises just because he might be United's main man.
I honestly thought you were going to come in at like 5.5 or 6 there, and even then I would have been like Tammy Abrahams is a 5 or 5.5.
Depending on when the prices come out, or this is part why I want to have this conversation is because yes, Abraham might come in at 5.5, 6 million, and he might start the season as Chelsea's main forward. Ted's saying that's a possibility.
Yeah,
I think Giroud might be like 7.5, Tammy 7, Michy 6.5. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, I'd probably go Batshuayi a bit higher. Just on it's more historical that he's done it before on that. Abraham's really interesting. I don't know. Would you even if he's 6 million? Do you even automatically dive in?
Well, it depends on your formation, right? At 6 million, you don't have a 6 million striker who is bench fodder. You're playing him week in, week out at 6 million. So it depends. If you're playing a 3-4-3 at that point, Tammy Abraham as your third striker seems a bit... I'd rather have a 6 million defender and a 4.5 million striker at that point and bench the striker. Look at over the season, I was just looking at the stats on your defenders, right? Azpilicueta, David Luiz and Golonzo were all in and around 6 million, give or take. Some were a bit higher, some were a bit lower, where they dropped to 160 points, roughly, give or take. Each of them scored. Tammy Abraham's not scoring you 160 points next season for 6 million. So I'd take the
Probably
defender.
not.
No.
Is the answer to that.
So I'd rather have a 4.5 million striker benched and get one of the defenders, to be fair.
But then how many forwards at that price are going to hit that? That's what we keep saying about the value defensively, right?
Glenn Murray is going to, mate. Glenn Murray's going to...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He's going to score 5 goals with his left foot, 5 goals with his right foot, and 5 goals with his walking stick.
Yeah, of course, yeah, brilliant. Is there anyone else, Ted, who's coming back from a loan who you think has got a real shot of starting the season for you?
Well, the obvious one's going to be Pulisic, of course, coming back.
I just think there is a new player, obviously.
Yeah. Well, officially, he's coming back from a loan, but he's pretty much. I mean, we had 41 players on loan, so you'd hope that some of them can be used. But I think the big one that could possibly offer some value, Kurt Zouma. A lot of competition for that centre-back role, but that could mean he comes in at an all right price in comparison to the other defenders.
Everton want him permanently. I know Spirit Blues are... Everton correspondent said that they'd like to buy him, so...
Did I see, Ted, that Rudiger might miss the start of the season? I'm sure I've seen that somewhere.
He's got an injury. I'm not quite sure how far that sort of schedule he is. I'd guess he is going to miss the start. Certainly miss some of pre-season, which isn't great.
You could see that, couldn't you? Zuma or Rudiger, Luiz or Christensen. You could see that, I think, in terms of the balance of those two centre-halves.
I mean, Kurt Zouma, I think he's 24, is he? 24? 25?
Yes.
He's young as you like.
Oh,
man.
sorry, I thought he was announcing how many loans he'd had. Yeah, no.
24 years old, so he's one for the future, and you'd want him, if you're going to keep him long-term, he needs to start breaking into that first team.
Yeah, I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed for him if he stays there another season and doesn't play. Although I'd be just as annoyed if he spends another year out on loan. Think you either want him or you don't, right? All these different managers are going to keep putting him out on loan, and he's a decent player, right? Is he in the France squad?
Couldn't tell you. Don't follow it
Ted
closely
will.
enough.
No, I can't. I'm afraid.
Bollocks.
Don't follow the France squad.
What about the? Well, actually, let's just while you mentioned it, Pulisic. He's obviously going to be tasked with trying to make up the loss of numbers that Hazard obviously provides. Can he get anywhere near those numbers? And where do you think he'll be priced?
Even trying to match Hazard, you just can't do it. He had, what was it, 60% goal involvement for us last year? Something insane. It's the highest in the league. He's incredible. And typically, Pulisic isn't the sort of player that you look for goals and assists from. I think he had 7 goals, 6 assists in the Bundesliga last season, which is all right. It's a good run towards the end. But he doesn't really score or assist that many. That's something he needs to work on.
He's a very special talent, though.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's the exact sort of player I like to watch. Young, quick, takes on a defender. It's that sort of exciting football that I love. And I remember seeing something about his number of successful dribbles per 90 is very close to what Hazard's was. And that's obviously quite an important part for us. I think Hazard's like 9.5 and Pulisic is 9.1. That might be way off. But,
there's similarities in the style between the two players, and from that perspective, it's a good fit of replacement. I think as soon as the news broke in January, we went, well, Hazard's going then, because you could see that like for like ability in Pulisic. It's going to be. You mentioned the Bundesliga numbers there, though. I mean, it doesn't appeal as an FPL asset. I think you'll be priced
at watch and wait type.
Probably
job.
9 million-ish.
Yeah.
You'd want to have a look. It's certainly. I mean, Chelsea more than anyone. I feel like I really want to catch some of these friendlies in the summer to get an idea of if any of these kids are going to get a look in, if Pulisic looks like he's going to cause damage. I would imagine by 8 months from now or 6 months that it'll be Pulisic on one side, Hudson-Odoi on the other, I would have thought. Would you disagree with that, Ted?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, just about Pulisic's price. He's come in for 50 million, isn't he? So he's always going to be that sort of exaggerated price.
Absolutely.
But I think 9 would certainly be way too high for me. I wouldn't be looking at that. Maybe somewhere between 7.5 to 8, maybe 8, I'd say. But even then, it's still a bit too high for me, especially at the start of the season, to take a risk like that. But the hope is that he'd be on the right, Hudson-Odoi on the left, and Tammy Abraham through the centre. That's quite an exciting forward line, to be honest. Young, quick. I'm all right with that.
Chuck Ruben Loftus-Cheek into that kind of box-to-box midfielder in amongst that as well. And it's a decent setup that if they can play consistently together and get some rhythm and learn how to play with each other, it's not a bad shout. For me, looking at Chelsea's numbers last year and next season, it's the defence that's the most interesting. Your highest point scorers last year were all defenders plus Kepa, and you're likely to keep clean sheets. I don't see that defence being broken up. If anything, with Zuma coming back, it's going to be reinforced. And with Emerson giving more competition to Alonso, it's reinforced as a defence. I was just looking at Luis, Azpilicueta and Alonso. The points totals between them, you could throw a little hula hoop around them, 158, 162, 160, something like that. Alonso obviously started mad expensive at 7 million and really tailed off. Luis started cheap at 5.5. Now, the price is what I guess the biggest question, right? Because if they score 160s, your Liverpool guys are in the 210s, 220s. Do you think they'll score? Liverpool defenders will top 200 again? And if so, what's the right price for the Chelsea defenders? Say Alonso at 6, or even Azpilicueta at 6. And then Van Dijk for $1 million more. $1 million extra for 50 points more over the season.
The Liverpool guys probably will not match
last year's total.
That number again. But I also suspect there's a chance that these Chelsea guys might not as well.
But what makes you think that? Because there's no change in the team, right?
We're kind of looking at it already. This time last year, Chelsea would have been looking at it, and you're picking your team from scratch, right? With the target of winning the league. Now, on game week 1, we had this conversation a few weeks ago when we had Ricky Saunders on. Their target on game week 1, because they're Chelsea, will be to try and win the league. But at the moment, for the 4 teams behind Liverpool and City, it's probably not realistic. For Chelsea now, I think tell me if I'm wrong, Ted, but if you finish 3rd or 4th next season, right now, you take it.
Yeah, I think so.
But they finished 3rd with 160 points for each defender. So what makes you think that they can't match it? Because I'm thinking
because they're going to go with a far younger team.
But okay, so Rudiger, Christensen, David Luiz is still solid. If Zuma plays, Azpilicueta, Alonso, Emerson, that's a solid choice of 7 or 8 defenders for a back line. And if you take into the consideration a manager, Frank, you'd think if he plays Kante as a holding midfielder in the way that everyone wants Kante to be played. That's providing even extra defense support for the defence. And Kepa's a decent goalkeeper. So from a clean sheet point of view, I don't see how Chelsea would necessarily weaken in their defensive stability. Same players, just as good.
If you think about the number of options we have, if you're looking for a fancy Premier League defender there, you want someone that's nailed. Van Dijk, he's going to play every week, let's be honest. Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, they've got that fantastic assist potential. Chelsea, we've got a lot of options in all the defensive spots.
Yeah.
Emerson, Alonso,
I'll be interested to look at the minutes there. I suppose my question was going to also be which one, but then if you go back to the points, they all scored the same points, so it doesn't matter, just get the cheapest one, right?
The answer to your question, if he plays, we covered this when we had the Tinkerman on, if Alonso's back in the team, it's Marcus Alonso, and he'll get a price decrease this year.
Yeah, he certainly won't be 7 million, I can guarantee that.
I think it'd be 6. I think he'll be priced 6.5, slightly above sort of Luis, Rudiger, Azpilicueta. But if he's going to play at 6.5, it's the same we said at the time with Mendy at City. If these guys are going to play again, you're going to look at them.
The value conversation's always in the context of other players. So Alonso at 6.5 versus Van Dijk at 7 doesn't justify the difference. I'd rather pay more for Van Dijk, 500,000 more, because I feel like I'll get 30 or 40 points more over the season.
But Alonso's point per match is great, right? 5.2 points per match, Marcus Alonso.
He just didn't play enough.
Well, yeah,
and
exactly.
also, they were very front-loaded in the first half of the season.
Which compares against Van Dijk 5.5. That's not a big difference if he's going to play every week.
Yeah, that's a massive if. That's a massive
if.
What's David Luiz's, for example?
David Luiz 4.6.
And he played more minutes last season than Alonso. And yeah, points per minute sadly doesn't come into our rankings and our points total. So you do need that nailed on, and we were talking about.
I think in the friendlies in the summer we'll get an idea. Am I right in saying, Ted, that a lot of Chelsea fans wouldn't mind if Alonso went?
I wouldn't want him to leave because obviously we've got the transfer ban, so we don't really have anyone else to come. But there's a bit of a problem with the fact that he, not to be too mean, but he can't actually defend. That's a bit of a problem with a defender. So yeah, maybe I'd prefer to see someone new come in next summer. Emerson's the more sort of defensive-minded one out of the two.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that's why the Conte's free at the back system really worked for Alonso, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
To have that protection of sort of a left-sided centre-half, whether it was sort of Cahill or Terry or whomever, who was going to sit and was a natural defender behind him, really paid for him, whereas sort of playing inside David Luiz.
I think
David Luiz is 9 out of 10 or 4 out of 10, isn't he?
Yeah. Alonso probably, I don't know the stats, must be up there as the unluckiest player of the season last year in terms of hitting the post and that kind of thing, because he had quite a lot of free kicks and stuff in the early half of the season. That's why I kept him for so long, because if you looked at his stats, I mean, he did hit the post or come close, or he was making attacking moves on the pitch, heat maps and all the rest of it, but just didn't come right for him. He could have easily picked up another 20, 30 points last season.
Yeah, definitely. He seems to have more touches in the opponent's box than our own box. He tends to hang around there.
Yeah. It just didn't come off.
It's great for FPL, isn't it? But Ted's right in terms of for the club. Emerson's the better defender of the two. Moving on, Ted. Can I ask? I think FPL listeners will want to know this. Penalty taker opening day. Would that be Jorginho at the moment?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it depends if Jorginho's on the pitch, of course. There's some various rumours going around at the moment.
Oh, okay. Because I assumed it would be sort of him and Kante back to a double pivot at centre midfield, no?
I mean, Frank's got a lot of options, assuming it is Frank. I'd guess it could possibly be, if Ruben Loftus-Cheek was fit, I don't think he will be for the start of the season, but it could be him, Kante, Mount, possibly.
That would be brave.
Yeah, it'd be one I'd like to see, but I think it's more likely to be a Kante, Jorginho, Ruben Loftus-Cheek lineup.
Not Barkley.
I'm not massively excited by Barkley, should we say, when he plays. I think he's very capable. I think he'll start instead of Loftus-Cheek at the start of the season. But moving on, I can't see who Barkley would come in for in that team.
Interesting.
If you look at the points for the midfield last season as well, again, very bunched up in terms of Willian, Pedro, Kante, 108, 112, 116. They're all there or thereabouts, 5 points. Jorginho's a bit behind on 96, but again, there's no Hazard was the one standout, and then from the others, it's whichever do you want, really.
I'm just thinking with Jorginho, if he's someone I've got in bold at the moment. If he's 5 million again, if it looks through the pre-season that he might be on the pens, and if he's going to stay and play,
you know what he finished the season on?
he'll get more points than that. Is what I'm saying. If he's on the pens,
As in price value, you know what he finished the season on?
4.9,
4.6.
4.6.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's a hell of a drop.
I don't think he would go down to 4.5 because he could be on the pens.
No,
But 5 million, if
As
he's
a
going to be on the
starting
pens
price.
and for a club like that,
yeah.
I mean, we're looking at these players now, aren't we? People are talking about having fucking Mark Noble, for God's sakes. Ted, I want to ask you about, you mentioned one there, obviously, Mason Mount. All these kids who I think you could put them together in a team now and they would probably stay up. My instinct is
Good point.
that the game will, as in the official account, they will bottle it and not price a lot of these players up. So people like Mason Mount, Reece James, Clark Salter. I think the game will bottle it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll go fairly cheap on most of them just because a lot of them aren't going to be with us. They'll go, I think there'll be a lot of Premier League loans. Mason Mount, for one, could probably do the Premier League loan if he's not getting regular time with us. Jake Clark Salter is one, I think, is going to be Championship, lower Premier League. He's not quite there yet, I think.
Is he better than Tomori?
I wouldn't say so. Tomori had a great season with Derby, which I was very impressed with him. I think he was their Player of the Year. And he's definitely ready for a Premier League loan now. Jake Clark Salter was with one of our feeder clubs.
Vitesse, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, which is where Mason Mount was before we went to Derby. So in my head, he's sort of that year behind in development almost. But I mean, he was captaining under 21s at the tournament.
When you say
I liked
price
Clark.
them
That
up,
was the first time I'd really seen Clark Salter was in the under 21 Euros. I like him.
when you say
he's
price
good
them up, you mean give them a price or raise them up from like
No, I
4.5
think
to
the
6?
official account. There were so many. I think there's like Reece Nelson at Arsenal might be another one where they don't know what line they want to put on them, so they'll just hold it back till they see what happens in pre-season. Then people go, "Oh, you need to price this person up," and before you know it, they're pricing these players at 5.5 to be on the fucking safe side.
When do the clubs have to submit their final 25? It must be after the transfer window closes. So it'd
Yeah,
probably be
right at the end.
Yeah, transfer window closes on the Thursday. So Friday, I'm assuming they have to announce their 25-man squads, and then the first game kicks off Friday
But
night.
half our bench at Newcastle opening day last year didn't have an FPL prize
Right. Okay.
when that game started.
Right.
So once they're on the bench, then they go, oh, okay, yeah, we'll give Carter Vickers 4.5 or whatever. Yeah, I mentioned that because exactly what you said. I think a lot of them are in for loans, aren't they? And a few of them, like Mount, if James was to go somewhere, these guys could be good budget options, but they need to be priced now at 4.5 potentially.
Yeah.
Hudson-Odoi started at 4.5, of course, last season.
Yeah.
They were quite quick
He'll
in
be
pricing
more.
him. So it's a possibility that they might.
I think he'll definitely be
think
more. But
with that one, they probably took the line of fault with Hudson-Odoi. I watched him in Dublin when he played Arsenal, and I was like, who the fuck is this kid? He's like rocket. They probably took the line with him, right? He's definitely not getting in ahead of two of Pedro, William, Hazard. Whereas that's now the guys we're talking about. A lot of them are sort of defensive or could fill into midfield positions where I think there's room that they might get a look in. And also, like I said, a lot of Premier League clubs are going to be looking at Chelsea for loans. Definitely. We talk about
there's a limit, though, isn't there? I think is it two players you can have from a Premier League club.
Reece James is Reece James, isn't it? Had a brilliant season at Wigan.
Oh, he was fantastic. He won the Player of the Year. He had 96% of the votes from the fans. Absolutely insane stuff.
Wow. So, I mean, he's a multifunctional player. He's a midfield player, really?
He's a right back, but he can play central midfield and I think centre back as well.
For him, like we was talking about Tomo, he'd be perfect for a loan for Sheffield United.
Sure.
If that's where they want to go.
Yep.
But then because he comes in, so if he was one that was going to get priced up, I think he's one actually I would say, price him at 5. Because I think by the end of next year, were he to stay, he could push Azpilicueta.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that. I don't think he'll leave, to be honest, because I think he could do with sort of being an understudy to Azpilicueta. He's that perfect, Azpilicueta is so reliable, club captain. if you want to learn from anyone to be a right back, that's the guy. I could definitely see him starting to get some good minutes this year because he had a fantastic season with Wigan. He looks ready to play.
Azpilicueta has been unbelievable for Chelsea. There were signs last year for the first time that made me think legs are starting to go a little bit. Started
losing that bit of pace.
Yeah, he started making some rash challenges. Like, you look at me thinking he doesn't get beat. Like, his position, he's always so sound. There were a few times last year I thought, he's diving into tackles here. Like Gary Neville used to when his legs started going. He used to just start hacking at people.
Yeah.
And I think, James, 5 million, were he to stay, at some point during the season, you'll end up looking at him more than perhaps any of the other kids. But it's probably dependent on getting rid of Zappacosta as well, I would have thought.
Oh, yeah. We could easily get rid of him. He's been disappointing, should we say.
Interesting. I'm fascinated to watch them in pre-season.
I think, we'll be coming back to you very, very soon. It feels like this Lampard thing is kind of behind the scenes. They've been talking about it already. I think if Derby have said, yeah, all right, talk to him, it's not... But he's clearly going to want the Chelsea job. Chelsea clearly want him. It's not going to take long to do a deal. I wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
By the time this goes out, I fully expect him. He should be manager when people listen
this week. Yeah. So, so when that happens, we're going to need to come back to you and be looking for more information, especially once the pre-season kicks off in full as well. It'll be really interesting. And obviously, you must be happy to be back in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, it's nice. Little stints in Europa League to win some silverware is never bad, but it's good to be back in the big time.
Do you have, if you win the Europa League, do you go into qualifying first, or do you go straight into...
Seeded
straight into the group stage?
Champions League team, yeah.
You know.
So you get the 7 best coefficient league winners, the 6 best, the Champions League winners, and the Europa League winners seeded.
Okay, so City, Liverpool, and Chelsea will be seeded at that
correct.
point. That's pretty interesting. So
which means there's only 5 teams that Spurs can draw from that pot.
Wow.
But better be Zenit.
Real Madrid.
Better be fucking Zenit St. Petersburg.
We'll be.
I'd want to get Bayern Munich. That's the one I've got to tick off.
Yeah,
that's who I
on
would
the
want,
list of places to go for James. So, Ted, thanks so much for your time. We're looking forward to kind of hearing from you throughout the season. I know you're very active on Twitter. Just let the listeners know once where they can find you on Twitter and anywhere else you want to plug and push.
You can find me at Rotation FPL.
Yeah, perfect.
Good stuff,
so do give Ted a follow on there. He'll be tweeting all things Chelsea and FPL once this game opens, which might be this time next week.
When you're top of FF Scout Hall of Fame in about 5 years, remember us.
Yeah, don't forget us. Brilliant. So this is episode 29, which means, James, there is only one more show to go for the 30 and 30, obviously. And then, so my good lady said to me the other day, so what's going to happen after the 30 and 30? You taking 2 months off or something? I was like, we don't know when the prices are announced. There's every chance they could be announced on the 1st of July. And if they're announced on the 1st of July, we're recording on the 1st of July.
That's right.
And she's like, oh, hell. So there's not going to be much gap between the 30 and 30 and the next episodes. But tune in tomorrow for the final 30 and 30, which is just me and James. We're opening it out to a Q&A. So by the time you are listening to this, the Q&As are already done. And to be fair, the podcast's already recorded, so you can't ask any more questions.
So that was a waste of fucking time.
But it will be, let's just let people know it's a Q&A with you and me. There we go. Anything else to add?
No, thank you, Ted. Good luck this season in FPL. Less for your team.
Yep. Ciao for now.
Thanks for having me.
No worries anytime.
Cheers, mate.
Ciao.
Cue music, man, child.
Yeah, because if you don't tell him, he won't do it.
He won't do it, yeah, it's true. Cue music, man, child.
That's it.
Messi, ancora Messi,